Hi there, I am Laina Orlando, and I am sharing with you probably one of the most intimate, most profound videos I have ever made. And the reason I am doing this right now, and this is, we're in the month of July in 2020, is because I am really clear about where it is that I need to go for my own growth. I have been a teacher of spiritual principles. What that means is I have been helping people for 13 years walk the spiritual path. It is a journey of awakening. It is a journey of leaving behind our pain, our suffering, our egoic made, fear-based identity, shedding that old self, and moving from the place of believing that you're just what you do, you're just what you think, to embodying the truth of who you are, which is a divine being. You see, this path of awakening is a path of reclaiming your magnificence. It is the acknowledgement that you are a divine being, yes, having a human experience, but you're not your human experiences. Your experiences are being experienced by the divine soul that you are because it wanted to have those experiences because it can. But your experiences do not define you. However, when you don't understand this, your experiences confine you. They put you in a box because this is who you are, this is what happened to you, and then you're stuck with that identity. My journey started when my mom passed away, and I began to question my fear of death because that was what came up when she died. I thought I was going to go to hell like I knew she would be going to hell. We were both, grew up Catholic with that environment, and I knew her. I knew she was a sinner, and I knew I was a sinner. So I started fearing she was going to hell, which means I started fearing I was going to go to hell. That entered me into the dark night of the soul where all of my fears had to be faced. My fear of, not being loved, my fear of being alone, my fear of losing my money, of losing a child or my children, fear of what would people think. All of those fears had to be looked at. And they were the process of going through a dark night of the soul that led me to question every thought that I had, that had created my identity, that had created my reality, until I came to know myself as a divine spirit who chose to have my life experience. And once I recognized that I chose this life experience, my power has just been increasing by leaps and bounds. And by my power, my access to the power that is ours. Everybody has the same power. We use that power to shrink into a limited idea of who we think we are. We use that power to little by little climb out of that box, that identity, and expand into the all that isness that we actually are one with. I am also a student of teachings of unity. And it's got 5 principles. All of them pretty much speak to that we are one with God and there's only one power, and our thoughts create our reality, and also the truth that we believe is the truth that we live. And that's why I'm doing this video today, because I have been invited into a new level of the truth that I'm believing, the truth that I'm living. Actually, I've believed this truth for a very long time, ever since I had my encounter with the divine in 2007, and I knew this was my truth, but it requires many, 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 many steps to get to live the truth that you believe. This is also the teachings of Don Miguel Ruiz and the 4 agreements. You got to be impeccable with your word. It's also the teachings that I'm a student of in Science of Mind, which is that everything is mind, and our thoughts create our reality. And it's also the teachings of my ultimate, most favorite book, which is A Course in Miracles, the teachings of Jesus, which state, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I and the Father are one. God has only created one Son, which means everything is the one creation of God's that God created to experience all that is. So you and I are the opportunity for God to express itself and be itself through you and through me. I know that intellectually, but I also live it in my heart. And that's why I'm doing this video, because I can no longer support the conversations that feed our egoic mind. I am making a stand to only support the conversations that feed our soul. So let me share with you in general terms, what has happened to every single one of us? You see, the source of all that is, well, we can call it God. It told me to call it Jesus. God is the source of the energy of love. This essence, which is pure love, is what everything is made of. And that substance, also in science of mind, known as mind, it is also consciousness. It's spirit, it's energy. It doesn't matter what you call it. It is what everything is made of. It's the stardust that everything is made of. That consciousness operates at a very high frequency. This is why it is also light. Now, this light, this essence of all that is, has the ability to choose to descend and experience itself as other than itself. So light has an experience of denying its light, and that is what's called darkness. Now, it's also known as the process of separation. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but there is a decision, there is a point when we as a non-physical being choose to have an experience, and we, in essence, descend into being a human. Now, to be able to play the role of being a human, we have to have a body. And our body, when we have that experience of feeling separate from one another, we are going to develop an ego. And the ego is nothing more than all of the thoughts and beliefs that we hold and ideas that we hold that supports that I am a body. And if I am a body and I see, 7.5 billion other bodies, all of us are separate. And when we operate from this sense of separation, there's me, there's you, I see your body, you see my body. We operate from one place and one place only, which is supported by our ego, and that is the realm of fear. Now, the reason we experience fear when we descend into being a human is because we get trained out of remembering that we are one with God. This is the work that over thousands of years, consistently over thousands of years, with each incarnation, we come into the planet, we are non-physical energy. You die, you come back in, you die, you come back in. That's just the way it works. Whether you believe it or not, I'm okay with that. I'm not trying to convince you to believe something you don't believe. I'm sharing something that if you're ready to hear it, great. If you already know this might give you a little bit more clarity. If you are already absolutely certain that this is true, this is just going to validate more of what you already know. But I am not attempting to convince somebody that is not ready to receive this, because you have to have the ears to hear this, and you've got to be willing to be curious enough to accept this as your reality if you're going to go through a spiritual awakening. Everybody goes through that whenever they're ready, and it is not my intention nor my belief that I can activate anybody's awakening. What I am here to do is to plant the seeds for those who are ready to either begin the process of awakening or to deepen their awakening. I didn't believe this stuff until I began to believe it. This is all new to me. This is within the last 17 years that this has become my reality. It first became knowledge in my head. I had to train my ego to believe the truth. And then little by little, I began to peel the ego away, begin to let go of thinking through the ego because it wasn't necessary, because I was living it through my heart. It became who I am. I was embodying the truth. I didn't need to know it in my head. So I didn't need to learn it. I just needed to remember it. All right. So incarnation after incarnation, thousands of years, we have been little by little descending. Now, when we descend, what we do is we descend into the 3D world, the world of 3 dimensions. Where do we come from? We come from a much higher realm. We come from a totally, completely non-physical realm where we are all connected one with each other and live in total bliss. This is when Jesus was crucified and he went through the resurrection. He returned to his non-physical state, and from that place he still teaches today, as do all ascended masters that are assisting the planet with the planet's ascension. you know, as within, so without. So what we're experiencing here as one human, we're experiencing as the collective of humanity, because humanity is a collection of individual humans. So whether there's 1 or 7 billion, it doesn't matter. All of us did the same thing. We are one with God. We descend through every single lifetime. We pick up information that is taught to us until we get to the place that we are so totally disconnected with the truth of who we are that we think this is the truth. So I'm going to write this over here. Truth with a capital T becomes our reality, and we accept what is taught to us, because if we don't, well, we're going to be afraid that, you know, we don't know who we are, that we're going to die, that we're not, you know, okay. So we buy into everything that is taught to us out of fear, because our thoughts, our beliefs, and our ideas come to us from other people who've been on the planet longer than we have. Not that they know more, they just have been longer, and they've been practicing the same thoughts and beliefs and ideas for so long, they become their truth, and they're afraid to change their mind. So they keep regurgitating and repeating and hand me down, or practice the process of hand me down beliefs generation after generation. What your parents knew, your grandparents knew, it gets handed down. So what are these things that get handed down? Thoughts and ideas that say, I am not good enough, I am not one with God, God is out there separate from me, I need to listen to authorities, I don't want to be alone, to be alone is scary, I need to work really hard to make money, to prove myself, to gather, to receive, to get. So all of these beliefs that solidify who I think I am as a human are heavy, and they weigh us down. That's why we feel so tight and tense and constricted. We do this to our babies from the moment that they're born. We fill their minds up with information that limits their potential. It really does. You know, when we're little, we have all these ideas of all the things that we could be, but then we've got to settle on the one job to make our income, to make our money so we can do life right and acquire and be successful and yada, yada, yada. Well, where is it that we're coming from? We come from non-physicalness. We come from realms beyond this one. We come from, at the very least, I'm going to use the 5D realm. So the 5D realm is, think about the D is a dimension, a density, if you will. So when we enter into the human story, we have been 2D and we have been 1D. 1D is when you're a one-cell animal. This is where the planet got started. When the earth got started, it was operating at that one dimension. Then the 2 dimensions. Now at the 3 dimension, we truly believe that there's space, that there's time, that there's mass. So we come from the very least, the 5th dimension, but there are many dimensions above that, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I don't know how many there are, because that has not been shown to me. What's been shown to me is that there's a lot more than what we've been taught. So what has been happening to humanity over thousands of years is that we have dropped down to about as low as we can go. We have, think of this as a rubber band that has been stretched as far apart from our truth as we can go, and that rubber band is snapping back. To further illustrate what has happened to us is that every single one of us as a soul chooses to have an incarnation. We're going to play different roles. Some are going to be doctors, some are going to be lawyers, some are going to be moms, dads, some are going to stay single, some will be musicians, some are going to be bullies, some are going to be victims. We're all going to play lots of different roles for one another, because that is how we forget that we are non-physical and fully embody our physicalness. Believe that this is really real. Get lost in the illusion that this is what's really real. And when your mind is conditioned to believe that this is real, then you begin to believe everything that other real people tell you that you think is truth. So we have agreements with one another that we're going to inherit illnesses, that you can't think on your own. You need a teacher to tell you what you need to know, that you need the policeman to preserve order, that you need a government to tell you what you can and cannot do, that they create the laws that are best for you, that you need a doctor to tell you how to heal your body, that you need anything external as an authority that governs you, because you know what? You're just one puny little human. You can't possibly know the big truth. So we're going to tell you what you need to know. And of course, we believe all of that. We buy into those thoughts and ideas because, hey, everybody else does it too. And we are afraid to not think the way everybody else does, especially if it's our family who taught us those things, especially if the church is going to shun us, especially if our community is going to think that, you know, we're crazy. Right now, we're experiencing a lot of that, because what has been happening is that many are beginning to wake up. This is what happened to me. We begin the process of a U-turn, a return to the truth of who we are. You see, when I began to question my fears about death, and I realized, oh my gosh, that's all made up. When I had my own encounter with the creative source, I felt myself as eternal. That I'm temporary became very clear to me, that I have a temporary vessel, a temporary body, but that what I am never dies, because it is consciousness. It is one with all that is. It took me many years to get my mind wrapped around the fact that I am energy, but I trusted what I learned from Einstein. He said E equals mc squared. So I know that the matter that I see is what allows me to have my experience as a human, but what I really am is the energy that is pure consciousness expressing itself in infinite ways. 7.5 billion ways to be exact. So the journey to awaken is a journey of curiosity. Here we are being controlled so that we do things a certain way. Again, that's why we have police, that's why we have government, that's why we have so many freaking rules, is because we don't operate in a level of trust here. We operate in a level of fear, which means everybody is protecting themselves. So we're trying to get whatever we can get so that we get to be okay. And by the way, you need to behave in a certain way so that I get to be okay too. The journey of curiosity is a journey of questioning all of those beliefs. Do I have a body? Is this really true? Do I need somebody to be happy? Is that really true? Do I need to go to an external source to be okay? Is that really true? Does the church have all of the answers about God? Is that really true? Do I need an external authority to govern me? Is that really true? Do I need another person to be happy? Is that really true? Do I need a degree to become somebody? Is that really true? Am I responsible for how you feel? Is this really true? And on goes the process of questioning everything that you have been taught, because it is a return to the truth of who you are. This is why Marianne Williamson wrote a book called A Return to Love. We have to question our fears, the things that cause our fears, until we return back to knowing the truth of who we are, the love that we are. This is where we become enlightened, because we are becoming lighter. We're removing density, kind of like a hot air balloon going up and dropping the weights of the fear-based beliefs. So we're questioning everything that makes up our ego. This journey goes through quite a few phases. The Course in Miracles breaks them down. Specifically, there are 6 phases. I teach also 6 phases through something that I call the soul's journey. How do you descend and how do you return? Well, the Course in Miracles is very, very specific that we are on a journey of cultivating trust. We are learning to trust first ourselves, coming inside, being able to take responsibility for what we think, begin to trust that there is a power greater than us, begin to realize that it is a loving power, then little by little shifting what we value that is fear-based and of the world, external material, to begin to value what you can buy. Money cannot buy. These are the things of the realm of love and peace and joy. This is where you begin to recognize that your joy, your peace, your well-being, your health, and the love, the happiness, your creativity. Those are things you cannot buy at the store. Those are things you cannot get from somebody on this planet. These are things that are naturally who you are. But when you are operating from a dense thought system that creates an identity and makes you think that I am just this, I am just Jewish, I am a male and I'm Jewish and I am, an attorney, or I am a female and I am Russian and I am a seamstress or a stay-at-home mom or a teacher. We have to question all of these ideas that take what is infinite, pure soul, pure consciousness, and descends into a finite idea of who you think you are. Now, for thousands of years, it's been okay playing human. But here is where things have gotten topsy-turvy, which is why we're in the process of what's known as the Great Awakening. Not only is one of us doing it, me, I am doing it, but as within, so without, the external is doing it as well. Because we have crossed a threshold. So I'm gonna put a line here to create a mark in 1988, humanity went through a process. Now, when I say humanity, as within, so without, the planet is part of who we are, because the planet, the stars, the moons, everything is made of energy. It is all pure consciousness. All of that creates and forms everything that we are experiencing, because we shape it with our thoughts. So we decided, as consciousness, as God expressed, to have a world called planet Earth, and this planet would have people, it would be us, and there would be blades of grass, there would be grains of sand, water, birds, everything that you could possibly desire to have a full-blown experience, like a movie. The whole movie set got created, because in essence, we're the directors of our life. We're the screenwriters as well. So we wrote this beautiful script, and we have descended to do this. Well, in 1988, through something called the harmonic convergence, the planet went through a shift, because enough people on the planet had already been doing enough of the questioning to realize, you know what? We are more energy than we are physical. We are more love than we are fear. We are more God than we are ego. We are more one than we are separate. There was a collective at the soul level. This is not something you were conscious about in your mind, because the ego, our conscious mind is very limited in terms of what we can access, because we've been conditioned to just focus on what's in front of us. Because we're chasing a carrot. So we got to focus on what's in front of us. We've got to take the blinders off, get curious, to question what we've been taught, to begin to open, to understand esoteric things, to understand about astrology, numerology, astronomy, about physics, about, the deeper sciences that help us understand that the universe is all one, that the universe is actually connected, to understand things like what is taught by doctors, like Dr. Bruce Lipton, who is teaching us that we're not, genetics, we are not ruled by our genetics, that our thoughts and our ideas create our experiences. So we crossed a threshold in 1988. The planet got the message from us at the soul level that we were done playing the game of separation, the game of fear. Do you remember playing when you were a little kid and you would play hide and seek, especially as it was getting darker at night, and how fun it was when people found you? Well, the game has been going on for too long, and people are sitting outside waiting to be found. It's boring. We're stuck outside waiting for somebody to find us. Or like playing Monopoly, and there's always the one person who always gets all the hotels, and you constantly paying them a lot of money. Well, we're tired of somebody always winning and us not getting our fair share, because as oneness, we know that we should cooperate, collaborate, co-create. But when you descend into the story, the illusion of separation, it's every man for themselves. Yes, some of us do like to cooperate, but that's because we're more connected to our soul's knowingness, more to our heart's desires, than we are to our head's egoic, fear-based ideas. I'm going to use some characters. These are little magnets, little people to help symbolize what happens to us as our mind gets trained into believing that all we are is humans. So from a soul perspective, we are in the light. Here's my little yellow character. In the light, we operate with a very high level of awareness. When we enter into the human experience, little babies are connected to Source. That's why they're all loving and they're so sweet and gentle and playful and curious and full of creativity, because they are as close to Source as we can possibly get while we are alive in a physical body. Over time, our mind gets trained into believing that we're just a body. We're given the name, we're given the religion, we're told, this is what you are, this is your ethnicity, this is your culture, this is, where you live, you're of this color, not that color, you're of this belief, religious belief, not that one. So we begin to get trained into what's right and what's wrong, what is good and what's bad, and our mind becomes dualistic. And it's all about separation, because we believe that we're separate, and mom and dad tell us, well, you are this color, not that color. You're this gender, not that gender. You're this religion, not that religion. So we believe that, and we get a little darker. So I'm going to use the green person to symbolize, this is kind of in our teenage years. We're still close enough to the truth of who we are, but we are being sucked into being, into adulting, where you really live from fear, because you don't want to do life wrong. All these people are expecting you to do well. Your parents are expecting you. They gave you an education, college, they invested in you. Now you better perform. And then you get married, you got children. Now your kids and your wife expect you, or your husband expects you to perform. So you got the parents on the one side. You don't want to disappoint because they did so much for you. Then you've got the family on the other side. And when you begin to take on all of those burdens, by the time you're in your early 20s, you're sucked into becoming pretty dense. And this is why people in their in their 40s have that midlife crisis, because you get pretty blue after a while. You get pretty dense and heavy. You're not operating at the realm of light, because your mind has taken so many beliefs that you are confined in an idea of who you think you are. Fears run your life, plain and simple. There's another level, and this is the level of those who have descended into such density that they recognize, they have an awareness that this process is a process of mind training. We will train your mind to believe that this is all you are, so that you forget the truth of who you are. And those beings get so dark and so dense. I'm using red because they get so disconnected that they operate at such a deep density. But you know who these people are? These people who understand how the mind gets trained are our leaders. These are, and by leaders, I'm going to say these are the corrupt leaders. These are the politicians, the heads of corporations. These are the heads of churches, of institutions like that. This could be, a father or a mother. These are people that you typically might think they have your best interest at heart, but because they live in such a deep state of separation inside of the density of the 3D world, they operate with the greatest amount of fear, because they fear that if you don't listen to them, they don't have anybody to control, because the three-dimensional world operates with control. You have to control what people believe and think, because if they don't believe what you tell them, you cannot force them to participate in a very limited idea of who they are. So if you can't control people's minds are free to believe whatever they want to believe. So the spiritual journey is a journey of reversing the process where we got densified and we enter into the darkness, the deepest places where we take advantage of others to get our good. We're so far from God that we have to take advantage of others to find our joy. I need you to marry me for me to be okay. I need you to support me for me to have my money. I need you to believe that I'm in charge of your safety for you to be okay. because this is one of the crucial things that we do, is when we rely on other humans to be in control of us, we give up our freedom for the idea that they are going to keep us safe. This is why in the world we have police and judicial systems, and we have to have controls and laws and regulations, because we have been taught to fear one another. We've been divided by color, by gender, by sexual orientation, religious beliefs. So in the world of density of the ego, we have descended into a very small idea of what's possible, and we're all fighting each other to protect what little bit of freedom we think we have. Here, we think that going to the grocery store and picking, between 40 boxes of cereal is freedom, not understanding that true freedom is aligning with your well-being that comes from God, is enjoying what the planet that you're one with has to offer you in the way of organic, natural things. But here we have been so conditioned that somebody is going to give us the food that we're supposed to have. We can't plant it ourselves. By gosh, you can't be busy planting. We need you in the factories working, making a lot of money so that you can become somebody important, somebody special. So I am saying all of this to kind of paint a picture that humanity has over thousands of years descended into a thought system that we literally have given our power away to very few people who control the masses. This is where, at least 7 billion people are here. There's quite a few million here. The realm of those who are really connected to Source, this is something that I have read, that I have heard, and it feels very comfortable to me. On this planet currently, there are 144,000 beings that are here specifically to help us through the shift, that when we cross through the harmonic convergence, when the planet shifted its magnetic poles, when the planet began to hear the call from our soul to awaken, 144 beings, this is galactic beings. Again, if you don't believe this, that's okay. You don't have to believe me. The truth is the truth is the truth, and everybody will receive more of the truth depending on where they are on their journey. This is like grades in school. We've got kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, all the way on up, until you get into middle school. And then you have high school, and then you have college, and then you have graduate school, and then you go off into the world. So a kindergarten only knows so much, and you can tell a kindergarten a physics formula. They won't understand it. They will think you're making stuff up. You know it's true at the graduate level, but you don't try to convince a kindergartner of something they haven't prepared their mind to accept. So humanity today is at a very important place where we are shifting out of the egoic way of being, the 3D world. We are lifting into a new earth of the fifth dimension of consciousness. That means our mind is expanding to know more of what God knows and to drop more of the limitations that are man-made. This process of ascension requires two very important things: curiosity and the willingness to be wrong. You have to be willing to question what you believe, but then you got to be willing to accept that maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's limited, and it's wrong only when compared to the ultimate truth of who you are, that you are non-physical beings. So if you think you're a body, well, it's true you have a body, but it is wrong thinking if you think that your body is all you are, because in actuality, you are energy appearing as a body. So if you're focused on what the body is because you see it, you're going to operate from the beliefs that say bodies get sick, bodies are used to get pleasure from one another, bodies are used to protect yourself, to get away from others, to connect with others. So you begin to rely on your body, and a body that is filled with thoughts that are fear-based is going to get sick. That's just all that it is. You need to know the truth of who you are to be at ease, because at the realm of peace, the peace that passes all understanding, you can't think about it. You embody that. That is just what you are. So at the level of being at one with source, you're totally at ease. This is where well-being happens. But when you are not at ease with your minds, because this is the world of anxiety, of chasing, of getting, of accumulating, of becoming, your body in unease causes dis-ease. So if you think you're just a body, well, then your disease has power over you. Then you need to go find the authority figure that's going to give you the medicine that's going to help you feel better. If you believe that the world operates only with money, you've got to do your job and you've got to get your money and you've got to follow the rules, and you need somebody to give you, through authority, the rules and regulations about loans and paybacks and investments and so on and so forth. So again, everything is dependent on something external. Well, humanity is moving to a new position. This is something that happens every 26,000 years. Again, you got to study more than what you're taught in school. You got to go beyond that. Why do you think they make astrology and astronomy, well, specifically astrology, such a taboo thing? And they don't teach it in school, because that would give you way too much power. That would give you way too much knowledge. As I began to study astrology and numerology, and oh my God, my world began to expand. Curious, and my willingness to be wrong about what I thought was true and right. So, once more, I'm not trying to convince you of anything that you're not ready to accept. But what I am saying is that there is a line in the sand for me. I must live the truth that I believe. I believe that I am non-physical. I believe that I am one with God, and I believe that my well-being, my happiness, my joy, my peace, my creativity, my abundance comes from the fact that I am one with Source. I do not believe that it comes from the outside. For example, right now that we're in the midst of this whole COVID story, I absolutely firmly believe that there is such a thing as coronavirus, but I also absolutely firmly believe, not only because I have heard it channeled by other teachers, by other beings that are assisting us with information, I feel it in my beingness that it was tampered with and it has been turned into a biological weapon. So I understand, for me, that some people who hear that are going to call me conspiracy theorist. That's perfectly okay. I don't want to convince you to believe something that you are not ready to accept, because everybody is at whatever grade in school they're at. Conspiracy theories is a nice label that the CIA created to label what they want you to know. So when you begin to discover more of the truth of how fears got created, well, if you're getting close to discovering what's going to free you from the man, that authority figure, well, we're going to call it conspiracy to scare you, because at this level of consciousness, we are easily scared. Why? Because we need safety. So a lot of people who are breaking out of being afraid of what the government says, what authorities say, have began to lighten up. They're on a spiritual journey that are moving us towards the realm of oneness, toward the realm of realizing that we've got to give up being afraid. You cannot cross the threshold without giving up your fears. So what happened after we crossed that line of the harmonic convergence is that the planet was infused with energy. Because of that 26,000 cycle rotation through our galaxy, through the universe, we are moving through an area in space. This is where you have to study astronomy to understand where the planets are beyond just our galaxy. So when you understand where our planets are beyond the galaxy, we are receiving massive amounts of energy. You can look at this. Again, there's lots of information out there. I've done my research. You go do your own research. If this resonates with you, if it doesn't, chances are you already turned me off. But if this resonates with you, there is a cohesive plan that we are all part of, because from oneness, we all came in to have the experience of separateness. But now we're being called back into oneness if we are ready to end the game. But everybody ends the game when they're ready to end the game. Nobody can make somebody else change their mind. That's really the only thing you have control over. Yes, somebody can hurt your body. We don't have control necessarily of somebody coming and hitting our bodies. But we have total and complete control about what we think. That is something that these people are trying to take over because they want to get into your mind. They want to tell you what to think. They've been doing that, caused us to go into fear. Now there's a lot of process or a lot of stuff going on about the whole AI movement to take our power away physically so that we can become more robotic-like. That's coming, but not if you don't want to make that your reality. But if you don't own the truth of who you are going to descend into that lower level of thinking. It's just the way you can only go up or down. Yeah, you can stall for a little bit, but we're not in a position to stall right now. We're in a position to ascend. So as we begin to question everything that we know, we have to cross a line. Just as the planet crossed a line through the harmonic convergence, all of us feeling the energy shifting, we have to make a decision. Are you going to let your life be ruled by fear and made up beliefs? Or are you going to cross the threshold and you're going to let God be your truth? Are you and the Father going to be one? Are you going to say, God, not my will, but yours be done? Those who want to operate inside of you think you have control, you're not going to want to give up your seeming safety, that you control what you do, where you go, where you live. You're not going to want to give up that for an unknown God, because those of us who gave up our power to an unknown God, we were taught that God was a God that was going to punish us. So our mind has all these fears about God that we've got to work through. These are layers that we begin to see once we move into the realm where we cross the threshold. And this is where I am. For me, the line in the sand is the truth that I believe in my head. The thoughts that are in my head now match the truth that I live in my heart. What I know is my truth. My truth. So as it pertains to the world, those who control us, who think that they control us, because they only control us because we allow ourselves to be controlled. We say, yes, you tell me what I can and cannot do. We've been playing that game for so long that they really believe that they're in charge, but it's only because we don't remember that we're in charge. We let them do this for us, and we've been convinced that because they have money and status and the positions, well, that they have power over us, but it's not true. All of this is made up. We're all playing this game because we want to. So I played the game of being disempowered, and then I found my power, and I've been working my way up. Now, I do not feel that I'm one of the 144,000. I could be, but it's not what I'm feeling I am at now. But I am definitely in the group of the millions who have made a decision that I rather be free than safe. I rather operate in oneness with God than be connected to a bunch of friends on this planet. I recognize that my awareness of what is happening, how these people have been manipulating humanity to cause more and more to come down towards the darkness, I see that. And I'm at a place where people want to call me conspiracy theorist. People have issues with me. I had the first person unfriend me not too long ago, and she said, I'm unfriending you because I don't like what you believe. Isn't that curious? Instead of being curious about what I believe, it was, I don't like what you believe. Well, guess what's happening? We are being pitted against each other by color. Black Lives Matter. LGBTQ rights matter. Wearing masks versus not wearing masks. We are being pitted against each other so that we become distracted here. Because while you're fighting one another, trying to be right, because that's the game of control, somebody has to be wrong and somebody has to be right, plus or minus, right or wrong, good or bad. While you are defending who's right and who's wrong, you are controllable because you are going to take a side that these people are on two sides of the aisle. That's why we have two political systems. Why? Because they've got to have people on either side to maintain the game of control. If we were all on one side and we were not afraid, who would be control? There wouldn't be control. But when you move up to the realm that you are going to go beyond what the world thinks to what God thinks, you're not controllable. Here, you operate in a realm of neutrality. You say, now I know that my worth is not dependent on my net worth. My self-esteem is not dependent on what other people think about me. As a matter of fact, I now know that what you think about me says who you are, not me. Because we're all playing a game of projecting out there the world that we need to have the experience of separation. So I now am free of what other people think about me. I am free of fears. I do not have fears that debilitate me. I have fear-based thoughts that enter my mind, but I know who I am, and I very quickly align with Source to let those fears go. I literally, when I have a thought, oh, what will they think? I'm like, doesn't matter. I know what I am because I remind myself the truth because I've accessed the mind of God, and the mind of God does not see me as anything less than how God created me. So I am no longer concerned about what people think about me. I don't need to be right. I don't care if I'm wrong. In your eyes, I know what my truth is. My truth, not with a little t, but with a capital truth, which is God's truth, that my joy, happiness, creativity, well-being comes from God inside of me. So right now, we're facing this whole coronavirus pandemic. And as I said, I believe that there is a virus, but I also believe that it has been manipulated. And there are other components that are part of that are activating the fear, activating the illnesses, the deaths that we're seeing. Because God did not create things that make us sick. God has created a system that is self-sustaining. But if you don't know that, because your mind is not used to thinking with God, you operate in what you're taught, so you are limited with the information that you have. Therefore, you have a very limited perception of what's possible. So teachers, scientists, physicians, I cannot even think about all the names, astronomers, astrologers, people who know beyond what has been controlled for them to know about, have reached realms, again, in the millions, where we understand that if you create your reality, and we agree to this reality, we bought into that, it's what we were taught, we can create a new reality, a new earth. Eckhart Tolle wrote the book, A New Earth. He's a student of A Course in Miracles because he understood, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. The line in the sand for me is that I am not participating in games where I need to please you, nor do I need you to change your mind to please me. So when it comes to the masks, here's the thing. I will wear a mask because I know you're afraid. I will wear a mask not because I am expecting to catch something from anything outside of me, nor am I believing that I can give it to you. I will wear a mask for somebody because I love you. And if I feel like wearing a mask, I will. But what I want you to understand is if you need me to wear a mask and you believe that I'm wrong if I don't, and the right thing for me to do to show that I love you is to wear a mask, you're operating from fear. I'll wear a mask for you because I am free and I love you. But you are in fear if you're going to be judging me, if you're going to be judging other people, if you have decided that your well-being is dependent on how others behave, you don't trust the power of God inside of you, and you need to be honest about that. Because the realm of the ego is pure dishonesty, because you're not operating with ultimate truth, you're operating with made-up perceptions that appear as truth when people collectively agree on that. So, my freedom says that my well-being comes from God. I walk around knowing that I am fine. And if I were to catch something, and I wouldn't catch it from you, it would be an experience that I would have internally because I want to know what that feels like. So if I am going to have something, it is never because I believe the outside has power over me. It is because I am projecting it as an experience. You see, as is taught in Science of Mind, as is taught in A Course in Miracles and in Unity Principles, my thoughts create my reality. The truth that I believe is the truth that I live. You cannot walk around feeling free while you have fear. You cannot believe that your thoughts create your reality and you can be abundant and have everything you want while you're afraid about the reality that other people are going to inflict upon you. So if you are concerned that somebody's going to make you sick, you are not believing in the reality of well-being, so you're not really thinking the reality you want to create is well-being. You are thinking that the reality that you're creating is a potential sickness if other people don't put on their masks. And guess what? You're going to experience that. As Henry Ford said, you're right if you think you are, and you're wrong if you think you are. Either way, you're right or wrong, good or bad, smart or not smart, whatever you believe is going to create your reality. You know, something that's really interesting, again, as I draw my line, I am not coming down here to judge you nor to change your minds, period. I'm not interested in that. I am moving to the realm where I have to stand for the truth that God has placed in my heart. And my truth is that you are a divine, powerful soul. You are playing the game however you want to play it, and I'm going to respect your fear because that's what you're wanting to do with your life. Whether you know it or not doesn't matter. You might be in kindergarten, on first grade, third grade, in terms of awareness of spiritual truths. I am beyond that. I have graduated from elementary and middle school. I am at a level where I go to God for my guidance. I don't look for it from other people. I can see what is happening on this planet, and I can see those people who really think that they are God, who have made self-appointed themselves as the rulers of the world, have been systematically over thousands of years creating a system of more enslavement and dividing us more and more and more. So those of you who want to play the game of division, that external medicine is going to save you, that your well-being comes based on how you can control other people by shaming them because they're not putting on a mask, that's okay. You can play the game that way. Because after the harmonic convergence, the world is literally splitting into two total, completely different realities. This year is a pivotal year for all of us to decide what is the truth that we believe. Course in Miracles is very, very clear. We are here on this planet either to live a nightmare, which is where everything outside of us appears to have power over us, or to create a happy dream, where we still have a physical body, where we still have an experience of separate people on the planet, but we're entering into the realm of collaboration, co-creation. The doctors at this level that are going to take care of bodies, because while we're physical, we're going to have needs because it's part of the game. Not because you're doing it to me, but because I want to experience it. So if I'm going to have an illness, if that's what I want to experience, I'm going to find physicians who assist me with natural medicines, with the activation of the well-being in my own body, with the rebalancing of my chakras, with everything that is natural, because I am here working with the earth, not polluting it and having it be part of the loop that keeps me sick. At this level of freedom, I have to take 100% responsibility for where I put my attention, because whatever I put attention on is going to expand into a manifestation. I know that. Those are basic spiritual principles that we learn down here. The difference by somebody who knows it in their head and somebody who embodies it in their heart is that we are operating at that level. The truth that I believe is the truth that I live. So, if what I post you don't like, that's okay, unfriend me, not a problem. There is a huge group of people who are crossing the threshold, who want to play at the level of manifestation with personal responsibility and freedom. That group is going to be creating a new earth. Literally, we're going to be living on this planet, and we're going to appear to be two totally different groups of people, because we are in the midst of a massive, well, the only way that I can say it is it's going to be exposed how these people have been controlling these people. To be able to understand that you really have the power to free yourself, you're going to have to see what's been done to you. I've had 17 years to see that. 17, 18 years to see that. Most people on a spiritual path for decades have had a lot of time to see that. If you believe that others have power over you, you're about to experience how that is not so. But the way that you're going to see that is by observing everything that has been done that is very dark, very, I'm going to call it evil because it's very dark, ways that people have been controlled, ways that the life force has been sucked out of humans, ways that we have been manipulated financially, we've been manipulated and controlled with medication that is not good for us, ways that we've been manipulated through a system of education that is not teaching us the truth. We are about to see how this entire world of fear, of separation, of duality, of division has been created. Because at some point, you have to say no to what is not your ultimate reality, your ultimate truth, but only you can do that. So either you are going to do it because other people inspire you into rising in consciousness, and most of my friends here have read lots of books, have been inspired by many, but a lot of my friends here are stuck in needing to be right, are stuck in fear that they're going to get sick, stuck in fear that if somebody doesn't wear a mask, they're not going to be okay because they believe that they are bodies. The threshold that we have to cross is the threshold that says, I'm not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. You got to create a relationship with the energy that you are, with the God source that is within you. You've got to heal your relationship with God. You've got to come to the place that you know you got taught that God is outside of you and a punishing God, and accept that God is within you. Why? Because you're made of the energy that powers your body. You cannot not be one with God. So anyways, I want to leave you with this last little tidbit. I have made that demarcation for me. Again, I don't want to convince somebody who's not ready, but if you're ready to understand how to go deeper into living free of fears, that is what I do. That is how I live my life. I am stepping into the realm of co-creation with those who are ready to co-create with me. And the ways of the financial ways, the education systems, the medical systems, the way that we relate to one another, how we treat each other in communities, how we create, how we deliver food, how all of that happens is going to change because it's going to be done from love, not fear and control. This is the world where money is king. This is the world where love, kindness is king. You cannot go into kindness if you're shaming your friends for not wearing a mask. You cannot go into healing if you're afraid you're going to get sick. Those energies are very opposite. This is low frequency, dense. Fear is very dense. To be in the light, to be at the high vibration, to shift from your ego and lift into what God knows is true for you, what ultimately you know is true for you, that I hope I'm helping you remember, you must give up being right about your body being real. Give up being right about somebody having power over you, something outside of you being separate from you, something outside of you being an authority. You've got to give up that idea, that story, because it holds you in the density. You've got to begin to get curious about what would life be like if you were totally free and creating your own reality. What would that be like? See, when you know that you're creating your reality and not somebody else doing it to you, you begin to use your imagination to imagine the new earth. This is what's happening. Many of us are imagining what's possible and giving attention to that. We have ascended to the realm where that is the reality that we're stepping into. If you're in fear, this is a reality you are going to continue to manifest for yourself. So I am inviting you, especially if you've been on a spiritual path. If you believe it in your head, but you are not feeling it in your heart, get curious about why. Get honest about your need to be right. Get really clear that shaming others and blaming others is not kind. That's not that frequency. If you are not willing to question what you believe, you're going to get stuck inside of a density where there's a lot more controls coming. You are going to feel the tightness of what is coming, because this group is not going to stop until they have total and complete manipulation of all beings, while this group is assisting each other in feeling more of the truth of who we are, and this is about freeing all beings. There are those who are creating this world, and there are those who are creating this world. Which one you end up on is totally, completely up to you. Why? Because whether you believe it or not, you're free. Whether you believe it or not, you're creating your reality. Whether you believe it or not, you can choose between love and fear. Whether you believe it or not, you can accept that you are energy and direct it so that you can feel the well-being, the youthing, the exhilaration that comes with living at that level of freedom. No matter what you think, you're right. You're right. Now, what is it that you want to be right about? Ultimately, when you come to know the truth of who you are, it's not about being right, because the truth that you believe is the truth that you will live. And you don't have to convince anybody about it. I love you dearly. And I would love to share everything that I know, everything that has transformed my life. You can look at it on my website, lainaorlando.com, YouTube, Laina Orlando, Facebook, Laina Orlando, Instagram, Laina Orlando. It doesn't matter where you want to look for me, I'm there because I want to make the truth that has set me free available for you as well. But you have to want it. And again, if you want to unfriend me because I believe in something that you don't believe in, that's okay. We're still one no matter what. I love you no matter what. And I respect you for being the powerful creator that is creating the reality that you want. And if you want to live there and put on a mask and expect somebody else to take care of you, good for you. Good for you. Congratulations for using your power to create that reality. It's just not the reality I want to play in anymore. I'm tired of that reality. Been there, done that. This is exciting. Something new, fresh, that excites me. So that lets my little creative self get all activated. So I'm headed to that realm. I've crossed the bridge into that manifestation. I hope I'll see you there. If I don't, it's okay, because we're still one. Thanks a bunch, and if you enjoyed this, please share it. And if you don't, that's okay too. Love you. Bye-bye.